Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. We will continue with our discussion on how we are going to create a transcendent 21st century based on the idea of positive Islamic psychology, which is not new. We are only using new language of ancient knowledge that has brought this world to the pinnacle of holistic human civilization. So I have explained to you in our book that we have our positive Islamic psychology model and how the transformation that we need to do from personal, social, societal and civilizational level based on our feelings, emotion and thoughts coherence. That means this is how cult-based, because Rasulullah SAW tells us about in the meaning of the hadith that if our heart have black spot, it will lead us towards our self-destruction, where Rasulullah tells us about the nature of the heart. And this nature of the heart has been explained by Imam Ghazali, Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Sina, and many other great scholars who has propounded many ideas in which I believe there's a lot of research needs to be done. But so this is the first conceptual book that we are trying to bring in, the merging of ancient knowledge to modern psychology. So I'm going to use the idea of modern psychology in terms of reframing inner speech, which we have developed in our model. If you open this book, there is this positive Islamic psychology model. All right, this is the model that you have to understand how the input from the, all right, our physical environment, social environment and inner speech transcends our way of life and our thinking, starting with our FET, our feeling, emotions and thoughts, and how the coherence will affect our heart, whether our heart is developing positively or not. And this is where we Muslims can lead the world, because we have our framework well within our civilization, which is intact. Unlike other civilizations, I'm not saying the other civilizations do not have these things. We have these civilizational ideas, for example, within Buddhism, within Hinduism, within Christianity. But we are having the most coherent of all ideas that was revealed upon to us through our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where, all right, we have this idea of how we're going to develop this 21st century based on this intuitive idea of our heart. All right, so how are we going to do that? We have to do that. We have to reframe positive inner speech for inner peace, for reframing positive inner speech for peace, happiness and success. So this concept of inner speech, you can find it in our book Positive Islamic Psychology, very detailed, and I've explained to you in the previous lessons how to use this inner speech. But reframing them in a sense that this is the inner talk that we have, which the founder of CBT, Aaron Beck, discovered that only just 30 years ago. But we have this in our libraries, sitting down there for more than 1,000 years, which is a joke. But unfortunately, this is the situation of the Ummah today, where we disregard the scholarship of our great scholars and just go for the very dry form of literal interpretation of Islam, and discussing until the cow go home about each small issues and getting angry and creating hatred between this group and that group, this idea and that idea, based on just the amaliyat only, which is, I think, has been resolved many times, long time ago. So if we stay back to within the framework of Alhamdulillah Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we can be more balanced ummah, that we can create a society that is so wonderful that this 21st century need. Every one of us on this planet Earth, there's 7 billion people on this earth, these human beings, is now in a desperate situation. And we Muslims can lead the world in this transformation to create a heart-based civilization based on the transformation and reframing of our inner speech. Because this inner speech, in Malay it's called kata hati, within Arabic we have this idea which is embodied in the Quran about this heart, the qalb, and how they can elevate to become mutmainnah or become ammara bisuk, how they can and how this black spot is being formed. It's all been described by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how this world operates All right? So if we look at the realm of the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. This is not something that we want, but it is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He created this universe. And how He created the universe? When He command, kun fayakun, be it became the whole framework of whatever that is existent or going to exist and have existed or ever be existed, or even whatever that is in the mind of Allah, we do not know, but He has created this idea that this human heart has this energy. For the ancient, they call it the latifa, the light or the nur. All right, today we call it, okay, electromagnetic energy, 5,000 times emanating throughout this universe. Why? There must be a reason. Allah does not do anything in vain. Allah does something for a purpose and meaning. So from the realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created this human species, He gave us this heart. This is the physical heart, which is linked to the spiritual heart. And this spiritual heart is emanating energy, whether positive energy or negative energy. And this energy is affecting your children, your family, your community, all right? Our country, the world. And it also affecting this planetary system. It is affecting all the universes that Allah has created. So there is a feedback loop. From the realm of Allah, when He created, He causes us to be His Khalifa, to be His servant, to realize His grandeur of this huge thing that He has created. So when we see this grandeur, when we see this new knowledge that we are rediscovering from the writings of our great scholars who have this intuitive heart-based intelligence. Today we are discovering this. So for example, if Professor Howard Gardner could not have realized this, but it is there within Islam, that if we are going to become a successful, peaceful, strong ummah that can live in peace with all human beings and all goodly creatures on earth and keep this ecological balance before we self-destroy ourselves, or before we go into a nuclear war, or before we are destroyed through climatic change, we have to then reframe our inner speech. And our inner speech, reframing the inner speech is not easy, because we have to work first at our personal level. Myself, you, every one of us. Then we have to work within our family, then our community, then our country, then our world, and this whole civilization. So we have a great objective, a great mission ordained upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us, because we take this responsibility to be His Khalifa on this earth, His vicegerent on this earth. So it is our duty then to spread this wonderful message of Islam and this wonderful message of a heart-based civilization in which we can tell the world this is what it should be. So how to reframe this inner speech? Every day, every moment, you are being impinged by more than 50,000 thoughts. All right, that is impinging from the bad news that you heard, from the itchy-bitchy small things that you have a little quarrel with somebody and so on. So every day, you are being impinged with more than 50,000 thoughts. And more than 80% of those thoughts are negative. So how to reframe? To reframe it is we have to start reframing within ourselves. And I'll give you a few examples. In fact, there are thousands and thousands of examples, and you have to do it on a continuous basis. For example, we start with forgiveness, because this civilization we're going to work on is what Allah has ordained. Allah has ordained the rule of forgiveness, mercy, and compassion and love. So we must have forgiveness, mercy, compassion, and love within ourselves first. How are we going to create that? It is by reframing our inner speech to be positive. So, for example, if forgiveness, the opposite of forgiveness is revenge. If mercy, you are not merciful. If compassion, you have no compassion. If love, it is hate. So there's all this opposite, and all these thoughts. All right, and these thoughts is always playing in your F-E-T. Remember, feelings, emotion, and thoughts. But we see it only as thoughts, but it starts off from the realm of inner speech, which is both spiritual, emotional, mental. So it comes from the realm of the spiritual. All right, this inner cult that comes to our positive, to our physical heart, emits this energy, and then influence the outcome of ourselves, whether to have, for example, forgiveness or revenge. And there are many situations where we Muslims take the opposite, revenge. For example, we have problems in many areas of the Muslim country. What do? All right, we don't like a certain aspect of life, for example, in Somalia. So what do? You are revengeful to the Somalian people. So you create a Shabab, a terrorist organization, and say, okay, all Muslims who do not follow this so-called Al-Shabaab ideas of Islam, you are kafir. So he starts killing you. Boko Haram in Nigeria, ISIS in Syria and Iraq, and so many of these things, because they are not taking this inner speech of forgiveness. They are taking this inner speech of revenge. Everything and anything that they do is based on revenge, 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 revenge. So their inner speech is just that, okay, you don't agree with me, I kill you. Or you have a mausoleum where you have a saint, we just break it down. Or you have this old manuscript in Timbuktu, all right, we will just burn it. We want to create a new civilization that is sterile, that is so-called following the Quran and Sunnah, literally. And that is a trouble. That's a problem, because they are so ignorant of the magnitude and the glorious civilization of Islam, and we feel sad, we feel like crying. But what can we do? We have to fight them. We have to create this idea of forgiveness. So we have first to remember that we have to forgive them, because they are all fellow brothers and sisters. They have done wrong. So our duty is to teach them what is the meaning of true Islam within the framework of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. How they can then participate in developing this new glorious civilization based on heart. All right? So we have to forgive. For example, we have a quarrel with our brother. For 30 years we never speak to each other. We must start having the sense of forgiveness. There is not the revenge. Oh, he took the wealth of our father, and that thing goes on from one generation to another generation. That's why in the Jahiliyyah movement they have wars being fought of issues that has been gone on by 10 generations ago. The same thing in Afghanistan. All right, tribal wars that started off with a very small little item that has gone out of hand. So this is the evil of revengefulness. So forgiveness is very important. So we have to forgive, all right, the wrongs that has been imposed upon us, and we ask forgiveness from those people whom we have wronged, because that is the way in which we can move on. Then when we see this world, we see from the perspective of mercy and compassion. All right? If we see a cat that is lying the road, we can take the cat and put it on the side so that you will not be run over by a car. All right? And you will see this thing. You develop this sense of mercy. Even, you may have certain ideas. Maybe you'll be walking by a road and there's a house, there are dogs there. Big dogs that bark at you, What does your inner speech say? If your inner speech says, shit, this dog come in, I feel like take a stick and knock it out. That is not mercy and compassion, but you just say, okay, Alhamdulillah, these are wonderful dogs. Allah created them to bark, so brother, let you bark, and you can talk to the dogs. And you'll find they'll keep quiet. You look at the dog, you smile and say, hi friend, how are you? They can sense it. I'm not joking, I'm telling you, these are techniques that I have been using. And you can find the dogs become so friendly. And they won't, when the next time you walk around, they won't even bother to bark at you, because you have given them this idea, this transcendent, because you are reaching out to the dogs. All right, in this way. So you have a dog here. This is a dog. All right. You are reaching out to them, and they are reaching out to you. This is not a bid'ah. This is found in the Quran. This is found in the Hadith. This is found in the writings of all great scholars of Islam. You are influencing even the dog. You are influencing the cat. You are influencing the existence of the bees. All right? Why? How? For example, if we have no bees in the world today, this whole world will collapse, because who is going to pollinate the rice, the beans, the fruit trees, the apple trees? Who are they? They are the bees. Allah has created the bees. And they are part and parcel of our life. Now the bees are being self-destructing by the billions. And it is going to be a major problem for us. So how are we going to save the bees? So we have to go back to a holistic lifestyle, where we get rid of this herbicide, pesticide, all these things that commit suicide for the bees. They become disorientated and then die. And when they die, finally we would die. That is not a joke. All right? So we are affecting the bees. This is at the lower level, but most important, we are affecting our brothers and sisters, other human beings in this world. And then affecting the world, affecting the universe, and then from the realm of Allah, that is what He has created and ordained. So we reframe every thought that comes into our inner speech. Revenge, we replace it with forgiveness. Not merciful, we replace it with merciful. No compassion, we replace it with always having compassionate. And hate, replace it with love. So whatever we do, there will be situation that is so painful for us. It's so painful to see our brothers and sisters Rohingya being killed by the hundreds of thousands. All right, it's so painful to see that. But we should not hate the Buddhists. They are good Buddhists. They are evil Buddhists. So what we need to do is to see from the perspective of love how we can help the Rohingya people to be able to go back to their homeland, to be able to live in peace, and to be able to bring a perception of the world that we are not a revengeful religion, but we are a peaceful, compassionate, loving religion ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lead the world in the 21st century. Inshallah, if you learn this method, reframing positive inner speech, I'm using modern psychological terms, all right? But as I say, this is ancient knowledge, which I'm trying to just reinterpret it in a better way, in which, inshallah, if you realize the grandeur of the life that Allah has ordained, of your position as His Khalifatullah fil Ard, as your vision and mission in life, you would then say, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyul azim. Always striving to make yourself good, helping others to be good, and making the world good. Inshallah, we will achieve what Allah has ordained upon.